We're starting. This is the show. All right. Hello, everybody. It's another episode of Marauder Morning. I made sure to get the name right this week. Last week I got it wrong. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for checking out that brand new platform. If you hadn't yet checked us out on YouTube, youtube.com/Marauder Morning. We're all there on video, so you can go check that out. That's really exciting for us. And we got a bunch of great stuff to talk about this week. I've got my regular panel of guys here, Mark and Ryan. Why don't you say what up to the folks?
What's up, everybody?
That's the two guys. They're here to tell us what they think about the topics we got this week. And without any further ado, I guess we should just jump right into those topics. Oh, by the way, I always forget, but my name is Duncan. You're hosting this thing. So let's just get right into it. Why don't we? With our first topic of the day, and we are talking about the NBA and the NHL. They are in a fight right now to reshuffle their 2021 seasons. Guys, this comes off of accommodating for the coronavirus. Now we're left with some wonky fixes we got to make in the calendar. So maybe I'll just throw this over to you guys. We're talking NBA, NHL. I think we've previously established for the viewers that Mark is the NBA guy, Ryan's the NHL guy. So why don't we just do it like that? Ryan, we're a Canadian show, so we'll start with you with the Canadian sport. Tell us what's going on with hockey. What's the thinking going on with the NHL and how they're going to work their upcoming season?
So the upcoming season 21 or 2021, it's going to be minimum 48 games and I think a maximum 64.
Out of a regular 82, right?
At a regular 82.
Okay.
And it kind of comes as no surprise because as I was researching, Gary Bettman, the commissioner of the NHL, was already talking about shortening the season from 82 to 70. So I mean, I guess the whole pandemic and reshuffling the season kind of works in their favor. But I mean, shortening the season makes a lot more sense than trying to fit 82 games in a shortened amount of time, because then you get injuries, you get too many travel issues, you get a bunch of problems. So it's just easier to shorten the season. And the NHL has already had numerous amount of shortened seasons. They've had seasons in 1995, 2013. We've seen last year. We've seen that they're capable of controlling the situation. So I don't think anything's wrong, but that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a similar thing in basketball, right, Mark? Looking at a shortened season, which has kind of already been a topic out there. Load management is the key phrase from the last couple of seasons, where a lot of the bigger star players aren't even making it through an 82-game schedule. So in shortened season, kind of already an idea out there in the NBA conversation, much like the NHL. Mark, what are you hearing about what the NBA has got going on? I know it's a little more contentious. Guys like Chris Paul are making themselves heard in the conversation right now.
Yeah, I think the most recent update on it is they're planning to start on December 22nd and playing a reduced 72-game schedule.
Right.
I think the main thing a big thing that I found interesting was the league is talking about a salary escrow, which is like, it's what a third party kind of temporarily holds, like the salaries of some of the players, just because like the league's not making as much money.
Right.
And so, like an interesting fact I found was the league recently told teams that 40% of basketball related income could be lost because no fans are able to watch the game.
40%.
Yeah, which is a crazy amount.
Yeah, because the thing I heard is, sorry, continue. Go ahead.
The NBA's income was down $1.5 billion last year.
Holy crap.
It's huge, yeah.
Because I've heard with relation to the salary cap issues in most of the leagues, I don't know what it's like in NHL, but NFL and NBA for sure, I've heard this conversation where traditionally the salary cap goes up every single year in these major sports. But they're talking about keeping it flat and kind of absorbing some losses so that salary cap doesn't go down in future years, which I think is really important because if the salary cap goes down, guys are going to have to start taking lesser and lesser deals. I think we've already kind of started to see it in hockey where people are bracing for a little bit less money coming in. Is that correct, Ryan? You kind of see these smaller deals going around? Okay, if you're just cutting back in, I lost everybody on Zoom. Such is the year we live in. I was just asking Ryan about hockey salaries. I mentioned that the salary cap is kind of expected to stay the same or go down in major sports. And I feel like we've seen a lot of guys taking smaller deals, especially in hockey, preparing for this lesser salary cap. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, you've seen a lot of guys taking league minimum deals. I think it's like $750,000 to like $1 million, just because they know that the salary cap is staying at like a pretty stationary spot. So in order to play, you got to take less money. So
yeah, and I think that's what
kind of the deal right now in the NHL.
Yeah, I think that's what they're kind of trying to avoid in most of these sports is having to give guys deals that aren't worth the work that they're putting in. Mark, I kind of want to go back to the NBA, and we mentioned the Chris Paul thing just very, very briefly. Could you kind of go into detail with that? What's kind of the pushback from the players on this December 22nd start, and why does the league feel so adamantly that they have to start then?
Yeah, so I guess a bunch of the players specifically the players that made it deep into the playoffs, I don't think they want to go right back into another season right away. Players like LeBron and all those players that made it deep into the playoffs. So that's the main pushback on it. But also they want to, they're pretty adamant on an earlier start date so that the season doesn't interrupt with the Summer Olympics happening in July.
Right.
So they kind of have to come up with a start date like ASAP, or else they won't be able to have the season that they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's an interesting point that I've been heard brought up a lot is guys want to still be able to compete at the Olympics, right? So they don't want to run over that. But you also have to worry about guys' bodies and, oh man, all sorts of things that have to be considered going into these next seasons. I think that's a good talk. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to say as far as these leagues reshuffling their seasons?
Are they allowed to go to the Olympics with everything going on?
Yeah, good question. I think that's still kind of a wait and see idea. I think guys would still like the opportunity to. I think they pushed it back to 2021 with a lot of plans to make sure that they could do it. But I'm not
huge bubble.
Yeah, Olympic Village. I mean, Olympic Village is basically a giant bubble already.
Yeah.
Not totally, but I think it could be very easily reworked into a kind of bubble. And I think Olympian athletes, I think, would have no problem in, hey, we're going to put you up in Tokyo for 2 weeks, and all you have to go do is your favorite thing on the planet. So I think that kind of becomes no problem for these Olympians, especially because they're competing every 4 years or whatever. With NBA guys, they can go, oh, I'm making $35 million a year or whatever. I can complain. But when you're an Olympian that competes every 4 years, I think you kind of jump at that opportunity. All right. Is that it?
Definitely.
Any more thoughts? Right on. Moving on to the next one. And this is an interesting topic, probably a big one that might take up a massive chunk of our show, but don't go anywhere. Mark's Premier League report is coming up shortly. So if you're waiting for that, don't skip ahead. This is going to be a great topic. Also, we're tackling the ginormous issue of college athletes getting paid for their athletic services. And I guess we should start by saying this is another topic that is way outside our scope of being able to solve. So we will not be coming up with hard, detailed solutions today, but we're just going to kind of discuss on what's going on. This has been something that's been in the news for years and years and years. And we're just going to kind of present our thoughts about it. So, I mean, you guys can't see the graphics here, but basically I've put 3 questions in the headline here. It's basically, can they, should they, and will they? So I kind of pose those 3 questions to you guys. Obviously, we're going to kind of talk more about American college sports because that's where more of the money is and therefore more of the issue is. So maybe let's go to Ryan first. Paying these college athletes, can they, should they, and will they?
So kind of cutting it short and answering the question right away. Starting
Sure.
January 2021, any NCAA players are going to be able to profit off their own brand and their own name.
Okay, that's through. I didn't realize that was going through. Right on.
Yeah. LeBron actually had the governor of California on his show, The Shop.
Yeah.
And LeBron, the governor, a bunch of like former NCAA athletes were like in the shop watching him sign the bill that would see NCAA players rightfully paid for their work. Mm-hmm. And yeah, just like even if it wasn't a thing, I still think they should be paid because it's like a job. You have an engineer coming out of university. The top engineering jobs are going to want to scout this person. They're going to want this person to work for them because they know they're going to do a good job. It's just like any of these athletes. They're scouted. They're scouted from high school, and they're asked to come play for their school, represent, and like give it their all. I mean, they work 35 hours a week on their craft, just trying to do the best for their school. So I don't see why they wouldn't get paid. So I'm glad that they're going to get paid.
Sure. And just to step back a moment, let's make clear on what this bill is that you're talking about. This basically allows college athletes in the US to go out and get paid for their likeness. Things like marketing, you can do local TV commercials, things like that. You can get a Nike sponsorship for someone like like Trevor Lawrence, who I've got a photo of here. Big time athlete, could probably get a Nike sponsorship right now, no problem. But it's still not the schools giving up any money. And so maybe that's kind of more where I want to go. Now that guys will be able to get their own money, I think that's great. I think that's a good first step. But maybe, do you think that the schools themselves should be paying these guys a salary? And then there's all these kind of issues like, how do you pay like volleyball players? No disrespect to volleyball players in the US, but they're not bringing in what football and basketball is bringing in. So maybe I'll ask that to you, Ryan, and then I'll go to you, Mark, I promise. Do you think that the schools themselves should be doling out a salary to these kids?
So yeah, honestly, college. So I looked up, and college football and basketball, they profit the most out of any athletic sport for a lot of American colleges. And so actually the coaches of all these teams, they get paid millions of dollars.
For sure.
I don't see why you can't take some of the money from them and allocate it to the players in order to create some kind of equality. Like I don't see why it should all be on the coaches and nothing for the players. I don't see why you can't balance it out.
Yeah, they've got no problem paying coaches of different sports greater or lesser salaries. So it seems like kind of a mute argument there. Mark, I'll come to you now. What do you think your thoughts are on this?
Yeah, you want to hear a crazy stat?
Yes, I would love to hear a crazy stat. Crazy stats are always welcome on the show.
So the top Division I schools earn approximately $8.5 billion in annual revenue. And men's football and basketball bring in 58% of that revenue.
Yep.
Obviously. And less than 7% of that revenue goes to players in forms of scholarships and like stipends.
Yeah.
So this study estimates that if men's basketball players and football players split 50% of revenue equally between the schools and the players, each football player would receive $360,000 per year, and each basketball player would earn nearly $500,000 annually.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
And like the two highest paid positions, which are in football, or QB and wide receiver, would earn $2.4 and $1.3 million respectively.
Holy crap.
And a starting basketball player would be paid between $800K and $1.2 million.
And look, we should just say that obviously, like, that's kind of a guesstimate number. the quarterback at Ohio State is not going to be making the same as a defensive tackle at Mississippi Valley State. So numbers like that are interesting. They give a really good indication, and it's a really good point, a fair point. But just to be careful, those numbers can be a little deceiving. But the point underlying it, I think, is really important. Which is that these guys are getting hooped over.
Schools bring in a lot of money.
Yeah, and I do think it's kind of starting to get exposed a little bit. It's such an institution and it's such a tradition. But sports like basketball, guys are just going, forget it. I'm going to go to the G League, and at least I'm going to get paid like $60,000 or whatever. But at least I'll get some money in my pocket. And if I blow out my knee, someone's going to have some responsibility to me. And then in football, nothing has existed forever, and the NCAA has just been able to dominate these guys. But now you're getting little things like the XFL that are starting to pop up that theoretically guys could go to in the future straight out of high school. What do you think of this kind of exodus from the traditional channels of kind of amateur level sports? Mark, it's a big thing in basketball going across overseas or to the G League. What do you think that becomes in the future? Do you think that becomes the main way that guys come out of high school in the future?
Yeah, I think just seeing the past couple of years, like top high school prospects choosing to skip college and make money if they're given the opportunity is just a huge indicator of, I think, what's to come. I think players are seeing that they have far more, they have greater value, and they don't have to, be going to classes and struggling to eat. No. Where if they can just go to Australia or go to the G League, they can get paid like $500K or like actually be making money for playing basketball and putting all that work in. So I think because of the recent players that have chosen to do this and to skip college, I think a lot of high school players in the future will do the same thing.
I don't think, just kind of thinking about this in my head, I think like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, whatever it was, when Zion came out of high school, Zion Williamson came out of high school, he went to Duke, obviously. And that's traditionally, good guys go to Duke or Kansas or Kentucky, usually one of those three. But I think if Zion was coming out today, I don't think he goes to college. I don't think we'll ever see a guy to that caliber of recruit coming out of high school go to a major college again. We've seen some guys use it. I forget what the player's name is. I can't remember, but he's a guy coming out of high school this year who chose to go to an HBCU, a historically black college or university. I think it was Howard University, maybe. That's right off the top of my head. I have no idea. So guys are, especially in basketball, that's such an individual sport. Guys can go, the really good guys can go, well, I want to go to this school because I know they're going to, love me and play me, and I'm going to get lots of opportunities. Or they're just going to go overseas and fine, I'll put some money in my pocket and I don't have to deal with, the rules and the regulations and all this crap. Ryan, what do you think? I didn't ask you about this. Do you think the trend continues? Hockey is, which is your thing, is already kind of had this established for a long, long time. WHL, OHL. So that's kind of a real thing. But as you look to other sports, do you think they kind of turn into the hockey or baseball model in the future?
So it's actually funny that you mentioned like the OHL and the WHL because I don't know if you've heard, but the OHL banned physical contact from the league this year. And there's not a ton of ways you can play hockey competitively without some sort of physical contact. Yeah. So I think this, along with the trend that every other sport is following, I do see players going to Europe, leagues like the KHL, the Swiss League, stuff like that. I see them trending that way because even Austin Matthews, when he was being scouted and he was trying to make his decision, he had a couple offers, and one prominent one was from Arizona State. And they had an offer set in place. He's from Arizona. He was going to go there, and he decided to go out to I think the Swiss League, and he was able to. It was just better competition. It was just better for him. He was saying, and he's better for it. So
yeah. And when it comes to these universities, you've got so many different politics. You've got your athletic director telling the coach something. The president telling the athletic director something. Yeah, it goes on and on and on, all the way up. Everyone's got an opinion. And players can get kind of caught up in that, where they lose playing time because, I have to play this guy because he's a senior and he's such a good guy and whatever. But if you go to the Swiss league, they're going to go, forget that. This guy's amazing and he's going to sell us tickets. So we'll put him out there. Yeah, I that's really interesting. Thanks for adding that. No yeah, I think that's a really good kind of interesting conversation. There's so much more we could talk about with it. Is there anything else you guys wanted to add before we move on from that?
I just wanted to say, I think there's like an uprise of not only going to the Swiss league and like taking your skills elsewhere. I think there's an uprise of players building their own brand. And like Kelly Oubre Jr., Westbrook, Austin Matthews, Elias Pettersson, like these type of guys, they see the type of personality they have, and they see that they have fans that look up to them, and they want to put out their fashion sense. They want to put out like Twitch streams, and they want to like do stuff like that. They want to build like a fan base, and I don't know, it's just trending up for college athletes, and I'm excited to see where it's all going.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic point. Players are becoming their own brand. That's a really, really good point. And obviously that leaks down to younger age players who see these guys. LeBron is the first major example that comes to mind. Mobility. I'm going to go where I want to play and set myself up. And I think that's kind of become a thing in major sports, is to speak for yourself and make your own decisions. Where I feel like now younger athletes are looking for ways to challenge the system. They're going, I don't want to be the guy who just goes to Duke and I'm a one and done. And, even though it's a really good way to do it and it's proven it gets you to the league, I think guys are looking for their own ways to stand out, which is a really, really interesting. And I like it. I guess we didn't say whether we like it or not, but I'm a huge fan of this. Guys making their own decisions and put money in their pockets. I think if you've got a talent, you should be fully able to exploit it. Mark, you mentioned at the beginning of, or maybe it was Ryan, I forget. I get you guys confused. But one of you mentioned something about engineering students being able to work. That's another great point. That was Ryan, right? That guy. Ryan mentioned engineering students. Engineering students, they can go out and get a part-time job during school. They can go earn money. They can write an engineering paper and go sell it to a journal, an academic journal, for any money they want. And the school has nothing to do with that. So I think circling it back around to this bill that we were talking about, that'll allow players to get paid for their likenesses. I think it's a nice middle ground right now, where they just say, okay, you guys are allowed to go out and earn money. And then the school doesn't have to get into this big kerfuffle about how much to pay each guy individually. So yeah, I'm happy with that middle ground. I guess just final thoughts. Are you guys happy with the way things are going, or would you like to go back to the way things were?
Definitely shouldn't go back to the way things were. So
yeah, you do.
I think it's easier in basketball compared to like football. Just because, it's like the individual thing. Like people know basketball players, whereas like football players aren't as like individual football players aren't as popular.
I think we're a long way away from this happening in football. I think that's the one that's going to kind of stay with this college football system for as long as they can. But especially in basketball, I see this kind of accelerating really, really quick. But that's really interesting. Sure. Really interesting. All right, let's go move it along to our next thing. Oh man, this is a good one. What's up next? It's Mark's Premier League report. Mark, did I surprise you? Did you know this was coming up? Yeah, we got this third on the docket today because we got to get to some other stuff later. But we're back for Mark's Premier League report. Real quickly, he's going to tell us what's going on in jolly old England. Mark, what's happening with Premier League soccer?
Yeah, this past weekend was a decent week.
Mhm.
First game, I'm a Chelsea guy, so Chelsea matched up against Burnley, very easy matchup. But one of our big signings over the summer, Hakeem Ziyech, started for the first time. He got a goal and an assist, which was big. And our keeper, who I talked about last week, had another clean sheet. So that's
right on.
6 consecutive clean sheets for this new keeper.
Okay.
I got to talk about Spurs again. Harry Kane.
Tottenham.
Harry Kane scored again.
Yep.
And they were facing Brighton.
Okay.
So the Spurs won 2-1. And an old hometown hero, Gareth Bale, I'm sure you guys know who he is.
Yep.
He signed with the Spurs over the last couple of months. And so he got subbed into the game in the 70th minute. The game was tied at 1-1.
Mm-hmm.
And he scored in the 73rd to lead the team to a 2-1 victory. So big shout out to Gareth Bale.
Right on. What else?
Yeah, I think, man, who should I talk about? Aston Villa again. Aston Villa, they were down 4-0 against Southampton.
Did they win?
And they scored in the 62nd minute, the 93rd, and the 97th minute to almost make a comeback.
97. There were 7 extra minutes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. This ref was really generous.
Hey, really.
Ref was really trying to let them come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they lost 4-3, but that was probably one of the most exciting games over this weekend.
Wow.
Cool. Other than that, pretty chill weekend. Season's super long, so yeah.
Well, I understand Ryan would like to dip into Mark's Premier League report with a fact.
Talk to me. It's not any stats on the players or the teams or anything,
okay.
But I read that Premier League is introducing the new Nike High Vis flight ball to make a debut in the winter matches. So it's designed for high visibility and tough conditions. Yeah, so a little bit darker, snow, stuff like that. And your boy Harry Kane is apparently looking forward to using it. So
high visibility ball.
Yep.
Right on. Good for the TV audience. Good for the players. Mark, what do you think as our Premier League expert of the new high vis ball?
I think of a new ball.
Yeah.
Hopefully it works. I don't know. I feel like visibility is not too much of a problem. Like they're in a stadium where it's lit up, but hey, I'm not on the pitch.
So you don't see this as a concern?
Yeah. I'm not on the pitch. I don't know how the ball looks. So
right.
We'll see.
Well, soccer players need all the help they can get to score goals. So good for them. All right. With that, I think we'll move on if that's all you got for Premier League report.
Yep.
Good talk.
That's all I got.
Good report. And then we'll move it on to our next topic. But yeah, for right now, we're going to move into our draft of the week. And this week, it's the greatest winning streaks of all time, as inspired by that Pittsburgh Steelers topic that we just hit on. So let's just jump right into it. We forgot to do a draft order again this week. Let's see, what was the last draft that we did?
It was Duncan, Mark, and then Ryan went last.
That was the comeback stories.
Stories. Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Let's give Mark the first pick of this draft because he had a tough last draft. I'll take the second one, and Ryan, because you won the last draft, you get the third pick.
Sounds good.
All right, Mark, lead us off. Who's your first pick? The best winning streaks of all time.
For best winning streaks, I'm going to pick this just to annoy you, Duncan.
Uh-oh.
But I will pick the Celtics in the Bill Russell era when they won 8 straight NBA championships.
Interesting.
Yes, I know the league was very different. There's a bunch of,
Bill Russell's the only guy over 6'3".
Yeah, and plumbers, but I mean, less competition, but 8 straight titles is a big feat. So
no, you can't take that away from the Bill Russell Celtics. For sure. I mean, Heck, man. I mean, everyone wants to put down Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. And they did play in an era where nobody worked out and people were smoking cigarettes on the court and all those sorts of things. But still, you don't just trip into 8 straight finals or 100-point game like Wilt Chamberlain's case. So it's no mistake. Great pick there. Yeah. What years were those? Do you have the years down there?
Woo! I do not.
50 something to.
It was the 60s.
Yeah, I think it was late 50s, early 60s. Maybe my dad will probably text me after the show comes out and let me know.
Your dad watches.
Oh, my dad watches every episode, of course.
Hello.
I'd like to take this opportunity to say hello to my both my parents. They both watch the show. Thank you for watching. And hello. Yeah, there you go. So the Celtics, the Bill Russell Celtics. Good pick, Mark. Coming out strong in this draft. I like it a lot better than your Kyle Lowry pick to start us off last week. All right. I guess I'm up second. And yeah, I'm going to go with an interesting one. I'm going to go with De La Salle High School in California. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. I'm going to get to that. De La Salle High School between the years of 1992 and 2004. That's 12 years for anyone who doesn't want to do the math. 12 years. They won 151 straight high school football games in the toughest division in California. California high school football is no slouch either. You got some great schools out there. Mater Dei comes to mind. I don't know them all, but there's some great schools out there, and they beat them all. 151 straight games. They won 7 high school national championships, which is not as straightforward as college or Super Bowl or something like that. It's kind of decided on by sports writers and stuff like that. So it's a bit more ambiguous, but they got 7 of those national titles for what it's worth. And then Mark mentioned the movie, When the Game Stands Tall is the name of that movie. And it's a terrible movie. I hate that movie.
What?
I was going to come out and say it's terrible, but you liked it?
Never mind. I don't like it.
No,
Yeah,
I'd love to hear. I thought it was.
I'm a big fan of sports movies, so
Oh, for sure.
literally like most sports movies I'll enjoy if it's like a good story as well. So I mean, the football in that movie was decent as well.
Yeah, the football was good. It's a good sappy story. The coach has a heart attack, I think.
Yeah.
Something, and then they lose a game, and it's spoilers.
One of the players got killed as well.
Oh, spoilers. I forgot about
sorry,
that.
people. I just had to make my case. I had to make my case for the movie.
The movie came out about 7 years ago or whatever. So if you hadn't seen it, spoilers.
Yeah, your fault. It's your fault. But yeah, I cried. Almost cried.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good little tearjerker. It's no Rudy. It's no. Fair. Remember the Titans. Yeah, but I'm sure we'll be talking about sports movies coming up in the future sometime. And When the Game Stands Tall will not be a pick of one of my favorites. But there you go. De La Salle High School winning 151 straight high school football games in California. Ryan, ending off the first round, what do you got?
So I'm going to go with a pretty classic answer. I thought one of you guys would take. So Golden State won 28 straight games in the regular season, and they broke the record for the best record in the NBA with their 74 and 8 record.
What adds up to 82? 72 and
10. They won 72 and 10.
72 and 10.
Is that what they did?
That sounds right-ish. I don't know.
Either that or 73 and 9. It was one of them.
They won 70. I think it was 73 and 9. That sounds right.
The Bulls went 73 and 9. So if they top the record, then
74 and 8.
Then they went 74 and 8.
Someone Google it.
There's no way they went 74 and 8.
I think they went 73 and 9, and the Bulls went 72 and 10.
Yeah.
Is that right? Mark's doing a little research for us
confirm.
behind the scenes.
Sorry.
Checking.
Yeah, it was 73 and 9. It was
73 and 9.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Well, anyways,
They lost to Cleveland.
They lost to Cleveland in the finals.
Yeah, and they lost to Cleveland in the finals. Thought
You
that
have to
was
mention.
a funny story. So that's my pick.
Yeah, right on.
28 games is no easy task.
No, and
Good pick.
it's funny. I guess I'm not going to pick them now, but I actually had the 2012 Heat on my list because I forgot about the Golden State Warriors. The 2012 Heat won 27 in a row, but maybe a better pick because they actually won the finals that season. But I don't know if that falls within the rules of the draft. But yeah, I had 2012 Heat on my list. Golden State Warriors. I mean, I don't know. You either hated them or you loved them that year, right? Like they, you better not have had a favorite team in the NBA that year other than the Golden State Warriors, because they were just steamrolling everyone in the regular season. But what a fun, awesome year! Just if you're just gonna watch and appreciate the sport of basketball, I mean, I don't think anyone ran transition or set up better plays than Golden State that I've ever seen in my life of watching basketball.
Yeah, it was a
Just looked way too
crazy
easy.
team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just looked easy. All right, moving on. Mark, your second pick, top of the second round.
Second pick, I think I'll stick with the Boston trend. I'm going with the 2007 Patriots. That 16-0 regular season. I think that was one of the years where
another team that lost in their championship after a great regular season.
Yeah, freaking David Tyree and the Giants.
Helmet catch.
Oh, that one hurts. But yeah, that Brady and Moss connection, like we talked about earlier, was legendary. And yeah, I think Brady was still in his prime, or
for sure. Yeah, 50 touchdowns that year, broke the NFL
Brady
record. Randy Moss had 27 touchdowns, I think, which shattered the single season receiving touchdowns record. Yeah, 18-0 in the regular season. 16-0 in the regular season. Won 2 playoff games, and then just ran into the Giants in the Super Bowl, who they beat in the regular season earlier that year, actually. And I guess the Giants learned a couple things, brought it back in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Yeah. Ryan, any thoughts on the 07 Patriots?
I think it's tough when you win that many games, you look like the undisputed victor of the season, and then you crumble last minute.
Yeah, I think the problem there was the Giants weren't supposed to be there. Like, they were kind of an unexpected team. So I'm sure you get a little bit of, pep in your step and thinking you're all that, and then you go lose the game. Yeah, but as far as the topic of the draft, it's a great pick. Only NFL team to go 16-0 in a regular season. So you have to give them props for that. All right, my second pick, man, oh man, I'm going to go with the University of Connecticut women's basketball. Yeah. I was hoping I'd get that one in. 111 triple ones, 111 straight victories for UConn women's basketball. That's wins that span almost 3 years. They started winning in December of 2014, and it took them all the way to the Final Four of 2017, where they just lost to Mississippi State. I actually remember that game. I remember watching it. That was a really good game. Came down to the wire. But almost 3 straight years of winning. They won the NCAA titles in 15 and 16, coached by Gino Auriemma. And the crazy thing about that is this team also had a 90-win streak between 2008 and 2010. So whichever one you want to pick, the 90 straight games or the 111 straight games, University of Connecticut women's basketball is crazy. And, in men's basketball, you kind of hear about, we mentioned this earlier in the episode, you got kind of like the big 4 or 5 schools in men's basketball: Duke, Arizona, Kentucky, Kansas. Those would probably be, the 4. But in women's college basketball, it's been the University of Connecticut and everybody else, which is amazing in a sport with that many teams and that spread out of talent, that they've been able to accumulate some of the players they have and win like they have. Mark, you had a reaction, so I'm assuming this was on your list.
Yep. I follow. I mean, it was like one of the only women's collegiate basketball teams that like most people know just because of their winning streaks. They've produced lots of great WNBA players over the years. So
yeah,
good pick, Duncan.
Thank you, sir. Then let's move on to Ryan. Ryan's up. Yeah, it's Ryan's second overall pick. Ryan, what do you got?
So my second pick is the 92-93 Pittsburgh Penguins when they won 17 in a row. But not only that, Lemieux had 160 points in 60 games after coming from early stage Hodgkin lymphoma.
Right.
He was on pace for 200 points that season, and that's unheard of other than Gretzky. So I mean, it was a crazy season.
Right on. Is that all you got to say on those Penguins?
Yeah, pretty much. Gretzky is the only player to record 200 points in a season, and Lemieux would have been the second if he didn't have to take a couple of games away just because of his off-ice troubles.
Yeah, man, that hurts.
Troubles.
Yeah, the lymphoma and back issues are something that kind of labored Mario Lemieux his whole career, which is too bad because, like you mentioned last week, he came up in our best career comebacks draft. I picked him last week, and like you mentioned, he could have been something. He was something special. He's in the Hall of Fame, and he did a lot of great things, but he could have been even that next tier up of guys if he hadn't had those problems. Good pick there, Ryan. Story. Yeah, big what ifs, which is always frustrating for a sports fan. And that's a good idea for a draft coming up. Best what ifs. Lock that away for later. All right. Coming up next, we've got Mark, top of the third round. Mark.
My last pick.
Yes, sir.
Going to go with the UCLA men's basketball team in the 70s.
Yeah.
Coached by John Wooden, legendary head coach.
Yep.
They won 88 straight games.
88.
Including consecutive 30-0 seasons. So, he had some beasts on his team. He had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Walton, some big men that are legends in the NBA as well. So,
yeah. I mean, imagine showing up at a college game in the 1960s and you look over and you've got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and or Bill Walton staring you down, and you're a 1960s
aliens.
Yeah, no, that would be borderline unfair, and it was because they won 88 straight games. And John Wooden is John Wooden. I mean, that's a name. It's like Naismith or Krzyzewski or who's the guy at Indiana that won all those? I can't remember. Yeah, that guy. People know what we're talking about. But he's just one of those names that is synonymous with the sport. All right, great pick there. My third round pick, man, I've got so many I want to get to. I'm gonna go with the U.S. men's basketball team, and they've got a couple streaks you could pick from. But I'm going to go with their 1936 to 1972 streak. They had 63 wins spanning that time. This is the Olympics, by the way, that I'm speaking of. The Olympic team, they won 63 straight games, including 7 gold medals. And it all came to a close in 1972 when they lost to the Soviet Union. And then they went on to win 21 more straight games from 76 to 88. Before again losing to the USSR, which of course brings us in 1992, the Dream Team, when pro athletes are allowed to play in the Olympics. So there you go, U.S. men's basketball. Dominant forever. I mean, it's hard to pick out a time in Olympic history when U.S. men's basketball wasn't at the top of it. So there you go. That's all I got to say for that. And let's move on. Mark? Or Ryan, who's up? Can't remember the order. Ryan, finish us off with the final pick of the draft. Make it a good one.
So the Montreal Canadiens from 1955 to 1960 won 5 consecutive Stanley Cups. And this was back in a time of hockey where it was Montreal versus everyone, basically.
Yeah.
They had such a stacked team.
Is this the Maurice Richard years?
Yeah.
Right.
So he literally has a trophy named after him. So I mean, you can tell how good he is. From that, it was just a time where they dominated the league, and then I think a couple of years later, it was Montreal and the New York Islanders that were basically trading the Stanley Cup. It was basically Montreal, New York, Montreal, and New York, and they were the only teams within 8 years to have 4 Stanley Cups.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, you get a lot of these old teams where it's just like one guy who like actually worked at himself and like got better at the sport, ends up dominating everyone. Mark mentioned it with his Celtics pick and Maurice Richard here. All right, that's an end to our draft. Crap, I didn't write down what our picks were. Ryan, what were your 3 picks? Read them for the folks.
Golden State, 28 games. Lemieux and the Pittsburgh Penguins to 17 in a row, and then you got the Habs with the 5 consecutive Stanley Cups.
Right on. Mark, what were your picks?
I got the Celtics with Bill Russell,
Yep.
8 straight NBA championships, and then the Patriots, the 16-0 regular season, and then the UCLA men's basketball team in the 70s.
Right on.
88 straight games.
And I had De La Salle High School, 92 to 04. The UConn women's basketball team from 2014 to 2017, and the U.S. men's basketball team from 36 to 72. Guys, we're actually ending up with a little bit of time on the back end here, which is new for us. I know. We stayed on top of it today. So I'll ask you guys, is there any other teams that you had on your list? I had a couple good ones. What about you guys?
Any order, or you just want me to spit it out?
Yeah, just go for it. I mean, any other picks that you thought were interesting you didn't get to?
So I didn't get to it because I didn't think it was that big of a deal compared to the other ones. But in 2017, 2018, obviously the Vegas Golden Knights, they joined the league, and they were the only team to their first year join the league and go on an 8-game win streak to start the franchise. And in that same year, they almost ended up winning the Stanley Cup against Washington. And I just thought it was insane that to start a year the way they did and almost end the year like they did. I thought it was pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's not as flashy of a number as some of the other win streaks, but it's kind of more impressive in a lot of ways when you dive into it like that. Mark, did you have anything else you wanted to hit on?
I had 4 teams. You took my UConn pick, so I don't.
No. All right. Well, I had, I thought about the 1972 Miami Dolphins. Didn't feel right after you brought up the 07 Patriots because the Miami Dolphins went undefeated as well. But it was in a shortened season. They won 12 regular season games instead of the 16. And with their playoff wins, it was a 14-0 season. But I felt like giving them props. I chose them for my list over the 07 Patriots just because they got to that Super Bowl in the end. I also had the 2002 Oakland A's, the Moneyball A's, since we were talking about sports movies.
Yes.
I had the Moneyball Oakland Athletics. They won 20 straight games, which is featured in that movie. I think that's about it. Anything else you guys wanted to get to before we're done?
Nope.
No?
Pretty much good.
Did you guys want to do fan favorites really quick?
Yeah, let's do a fan favorite.
Let's do fan favorites. All right, let's move on into fan favorites before we go. We're going to do this one pretty quick. Tell us about your fan favorite, Ryan. What was on your mind this week?
Fan favorite this week, Miami Dolphins beat the Rams 28-17.
Yeah, man.
Tua Tagovailoa. Yeah, his first game. Love that guy. He threw for 93 yards. He went 12 for 22, 1 touchdown pass, and no interceptions.
Yeah.
Defense played insane, and Jakeem Grant had a 88-yard punt return.
Yeah.
He beat the previous record. So that was my highlight. That was a big game. I loved watching it.
Yeah, right on. That defense was special that day.
Yeah.
Just took the Rams out of it before they even got started. And Tua, like you mentioned, only had to throw for 93 yards. They were just let him kind of dish it around because they were up by so much. And Jakeem Grant, my guy out of Texas Tech, undrafted a few years ago. But he's awesome.
Oh, and by the way,
yes,
Miami
sir.
is now ranked number 1 in defense points allowed.
Yeah, scoring defense. So, they're good. They're sneaky good. They're 4-3 right now. And with the Patriots being so bad in that division right now.
It's just the Bills. Bills ahead of them.
It's just the Bills ahead of them. And, 7 playoff spots this year. I mean, you start to think about it. Cleveland's not really that good. There's an open spot for them somewhere.
Yeah.
And if they can keep winning games, no problem.
Yep.
There we go. Mark, did you come up with a fan favorite?
Fan favorite? I'm gonna go back to the UK. My guy Gareth Bale.
Right on.
He had a rough couple of years in Spain playing for Real Madrid. He wasn't getting playing time, and people were saying that he's washed. So he came back to his hometown. He's on loan at Tottenham, and he led them to a win this past week. So
Gareth Bale.
Love that.
Good comeback story.
I know.
We love a good comeback story.
Better than my last week's picks.
Well, yeah, good. Thank you for keeping an eye on the on England for us, Mark. We sure appreciate it. How much left is in the Premier League season? How long are we going to be able to keep this?
The season's 39 games long.
And how many games in?
Or 39 weeks, and we're in week 7 or 8.
Oh, so we're good.
You got lots.
We got time. All right. Look out for Mark's Premier League report for the next 32 weeks. It's coming.
Yeah.
All right. My fan favorite. I guess I'm going negative again this week. But my fan favorite goes to Elise Tate. Elise Tate is not an athlete or a coach or an owner or anything. She is the wife of Golden Tate, wide receiver for the New York Giants. And she had a hilarious Twitter rant or Instagram rant. It was a something rant, but it was just awesome. Her husband, Golden Tate, is on a stinky football team. He's a wide receiver. He never gets thrown the ball. And she's had a great time on Instagram laying into the New York Giants, who he collects his paycheck from, and just trashing them. It's something I've seen a few times before in the past, players' wives or spouses getting on social media and making a big stink. And I'm always just like, oh God, don't, because that paycheck goes away real quick in sports. What do you guys, did you guys see this thing first of all? And what did you think about it? No? Well then,
I haven't seen him.
Have you heard of this in the past? The players' spouses getting on the internet making a stink.
Yeah. Pretty sure Aisha Curry tweeted something out in the finals, and she's like, "This is so rigged." Yada, yada, yada.
Aisha Curry went off on the refs.
You should take it easy. Like, let them play the game. It's sports. Get off Twitter.
I just think, man, that's getting your spouse in a lot of trouble with their employer. So, I don't know. I just thought it was kind of a funny thing. Something I've noticed kind of crop up more and more. Patrick Mahomes' girlfriend got on TikTok or whatever and did a big screaming thing about how someone didn't draft him. And I don't know. People
First
obviously.
Of all, if you're married, get off TikTok. Go.
Grow up. Is that the message?
Yeah, grow up.
Grow up, get off TikTok. Yeah, maybe so. But there you go. At least Tate gets my fan favorite of the week. And with that, we're going to kind of close out the show. Everything comes to an end, and so does this week of Marauder Morning. Guys, anything you need to get off your chest before the episode ends? Nope. No thoughts?
Not much, sir.
Last chance. Speak now or hold your peace till next week. All right. Well, then we'll wrap it all up. That was Marauder Morning. Thank you so much for listening. You can check us out on our website, cfmu.ca. Search us up. We are called Marauder Morning there. You can now find us on YouTube, youtube.com/Marauder Morning, or search us up, Marauder Morning on YouTube. We are not the Morning Marauder. That is a different podcast. We're not going to get into that. But if you search on YouTube, the Morning Marauder, that is not us. We did not do that podcast on that topic. We are Marauder Morning, and we talk about sports exclusively. So you can find us there on YouTube. Hit us up on Twitter at 933CFMU. That doesn't go directly to me, but it goes to someone, and they will tell me what you said. So please feel free to talk back to us there. And outside of that, be sure to join us next week for another episode of Marauder Morning, wherever you are listening. Oh, I should mention, never want to forget, check us out on your FM dial in the Greater Toronto area. We got to stay true to our roots. We love good old radio. Check us out on your FM dial, 93.3. You'll hear us there every Monday at noon. There you go. That's Marauder Morning, and we will see you next week.
You guys.
There you go.
Sweet.